On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we have Neil Blomkamp's long-awaited follow-up to District 9, Elysium. We have a raunchy comedy with Jason Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston hailing a fake family in We're the Millers. We have the new movie from the world above the world of Cars, that is Planes, Disney's Planes. We have Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. We have a couple of indie films, Amanda Seyfried as Linda Lovelace and Lovelace. We have the movie trailer voice movie In a World, written and directed and starring Lake Bell. And we have I Give It a Year from the creators of Borat, produced by the same people that gave us Bridget Jones's Diary. We have a lot of movies to get to. I'm already wasting too much of your time already with this intro, so let's just jump into it. This is Time About the Movies.
There's nothing left down here. They have it all on Elysium. Food, water, medicine.
Cancer removed.
And they'll do anything to keep us out.
Shoot them down.
I think I can help get you out there.
What did you do to me?
You can save everyone.
When can I go?
Elysium, August 9th.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at that's how many movies we've got. 7 movies for August 9th, 2013. So we have a lot of films to get to here. Let's just jump on into it and start with the biggest of the new releases. That is, of course, Elysium. In the year 2154, 2 classes of people exist. The very wealthy who live on a pristine man-made space station called Elysium, and the rest who live in an overpopulated, ruined Earth. Secretary Rhodes, played by Jodie Foster, a government official, will stop at nothing to enforce anti-immigration laws and preserve the luxurious lifestyle of the citizens of Elysium. That doesn't stop the people of Earth from trying to get there by any means they can. When unlucky Max, played by Matt Damon, is backed into a corner, he agrees to take on a daunting mission that, if successful, will not only save his life, but could bring equality to the polarized worlds. And yeah, there was a lot of high expectations for this, considering that this was Neil Blomkamp's follow-up to District 9, and when it came out, the reviews were mostly mixed. Either you loved it or you hated it, and quite frankly, I was one of the people that really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as District 9 is. I mean, District 9 is a classic movie that really shows what this director was capable of doing with such a small budget overall. Here he's got a much bigger budget to work with here, and it definitely shows in this case here, but there's still a lot of good things about the movie I did really enjoy. Matt Damon's character is very likable in here. You really do feel for the guy, seeing all the stuff that he has to go through, gets the shit smacked out of him by guards because he makes a bad joke. His company treats him like shit, and worst of all, he gets so much radiation after he's forced to move a pallet and gets stuck with the radiation sprays on the robot bodies. And, you know, ordinarily you would think being exposed to gamma radiation, that would instantly turn you into the Incredible Hulk, but, I mean, that would have made this movie much more awesome if Matt Damon just all of a sudden just randomly turns into the Hulk. But no, in this case, it's basically the equivalent of Adam West and Family Guy going around lying in a thing of toxic waste, hoping to get superpowers. And then the doctor on the show goes like, Mayor West, you have a cancer, and he's just like, what were you doing thinking about going into that? Going into there. I was going into that toxic waste. I was trying to get superpowers. Well, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous, yes. That's pretty much what would happen in real life, but the action sequences overall are really good. The movie does take advantage of the R rating pretty well with some really good effects, especially when you see Charlton Copley's head getting blown out. That was pretty badass. The story's good too. It's a very cliched riddled storyline, kind of similar to something like a Gattaca in a way. And the movie does keep a good enough pace at 2 hours, and under 2 hours. It's nice to see a blockbuster not go over that long, and just cut it off at the right time, and I think it works better that way overall. The biggest flaw of the film is that a majority of the characters are just pure evil, and they show no signs of remorse for anybody else but themselves. I mean, Jodie Foster is basically a bland character, kind of like a mix of Angelina Jolie as a Frankie and a Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. But Angelina Jolie was trying to help the heroes in that one. This one, it just feels like she's just playing a stock bland character. I mean, both of these performances sound really close, in all honesty. And Charlton Copley's basically playing another bad Saturday morning cartoon villain in this. It's because of that voice he has. He's got like a mix between a voice of Mad Max, Bronson, and Yosemite Sam all rolled into one. It's not intimidating whatsoever. But yeah, like I said, Elysium's nowhere up to the levels of District 9, but it doesn't really have to do that. It's a tough act to follow. And for a second film from this director, I think it delivers John just enough overall. A good story, you have sympathy for the main character, some really good effects overall, some really great action sequences. If the villains were better handled, I think this could have been a whole lot better. But, hey, enjoy it while it lasts, because after this, he would make the beginning of the downfall of his career with Chappie, which is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life. And you can see the video on that, or you can wait till we get to 2015 to talk about that. But, so yeah, that is Elysium for you. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is We're the Millers.
All right, Rose, I need you to be my wife. To go to Mexico with me, and then we drive home together in an RV. And that RV has a little bit of pot in it.
You have a baby! Oh, I'm getting my hands on that baby. Please don't kiss me. Oh my God!
Who loves campfire games? What is that? The
You know what that
rocket
is? Is that a
or,
cucumber? It's a big black.
It's a skateboard.
Of course it is.
The big black skateboard.
We're the Millers. Rated R. August 7th.
I mean, any movie that starts off with Jennifer Aniston looking sexy as hell, even with that black wig of hers, I mean, of course you're going to go see the movie, and you're probably going to enjoy it if you liked her in Horrible Bosses, because I'm glad she took that approach for a little bit of her time, but this is a good movie, though. After being robbed on a week's take, a small-time pot dealer named David, played by Jason Sudeikis, is forced by his boss, played by Ed Helms, to go to Mexico to pick up a load of marijuana. And in order to improve his odds of making it past the border, Dave asks the broke stripper Rose, played by Jennifer Aniston, and two local teenagers, played by Emma Roberts and Will Poulter, to join him and pretend they're on a family holiday. And, you know, this is another one of those movies where this is one of those movies that the studio puts out in August because they know the raunchy comedy is going to do very well. And we've had some R-rated comedies early in the year. Most of them have been pretty bad, like Hangover Part 3 and The Heat, but This Is the End was pretty good. I mean, This Is the End was still pretty good overall. And, you know, Where the Millers comes out, and I don't think it's as good as that movie, but it's still pretty funny overall. It is definitely a very enjoyable movie all across the board here. It works because it knows exactly the type of film it wants to be. I think Jason Sudeikis is very funny playing in this. He's got a bright future overall with these leading roles that will, of course, later would show in TV form with Ted Lasso. I'm glad to see Jennifer Aniston steering away from those awful romantic comedies and taking on these more raunchier roles. I mean, she was great in Horrible Bosses, and in this, she's really good too, playing this stripper. And she has a lot of the film's funnier moments, even in the outtakes where the cast is just singing the song to friends. Like, it's a great blooper overall, and actually was legitimately funny when you really watch it overall. Emma Roberts and Will Poulter are really good in here, playing the sister and brother in here of this fake family. Ed Helms as Sudeikis' boss was pretty funny in here. A lot of great actors in here. Catherine Hahn, Nick Offerman, as the other family that the Millers come across. I mean, Offerman is just fantastic in this movie, man. But it's Nick Offerman. The guy can very rarely do no wrong overall. The comedy in here is really good, and a lot of the jokes that were in the trailer do pay off in the movie. Like that joke you saw there with the baby getting run over, but the scene is great. But the scene where Kenny, Will Poulter's character, gets bitten in the testicles by a spider is perfectly built up, and when they actually show the payoff, it's the funniest thing in the fucking movie, man. I was laughing so hard the first time I saw it. Some bits do go on a little bit too long. They have one in particular where there's one thing going on in this where you have a conflict that's happening between Kenny and Offerman and Han's daughter, who really looks like a young Scarlett Johansson in North. Like, if you saw her in that movie and see the girl in this movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But bits like that go on way too long, and really, the comedy in that case doesn't really work all that well. But there is a lot here that I do think really works overall to say that this is something that you really should see. I like this movie a lot. There are parts that go on a little bit too long and feel unnecessary to the story, but compared to some of the other R-rated films that came out this summer, this one definitely succeeds more because of how silly and over the top it is. The characters are great, jokes that do pay off in a good way. I mean, it's not This Is the End, but it's still really good enough overall. It's still a really funny comedy that is definitely worth checking out overall. A really great film. So now let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which has a pretty interesting history behind it. It's Disney's latest animated feature from the world above cars. This is Planes.
on second thought,
You think you'll be okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Fun fact, that was actually the first time I ever heard Dane Cook in that trailer as the voice of Dusty, because this was originally supposed to be a direct-to-video movie, and before that, they had John Cryer doing the voice of Dusty.
Okay, guys, on second thought,
You think you'll be okay?
Yeah, I think so.
But I guess because it's not a movie it's because it's going to theaters, somebody at Disney said, you know, this Dane Cook guy still has some potential as a leading actor. Let's go ahead and cast him in this. Why? I don't know. But it doesn't make any sense because John Cryer was literally in Hot Shots. He was literally in the parody of Top Gun Hot Shots. It made sense to put him in a movie like this, but I mean, he was also one of the big stars on 2.5 Men at that point after Charlie Sheen left. I mean, the guy won an Emmy for lead actor in a comedy series, which still baffles me to this very day, because wasn't Ashton Kutcher supposed to be the guy that was supposed to be the leading actor in that show after Charlie Sheen left? I don't know, that's just a whole other thing altogether. But this is Planes. This is a movie, of course, that takes place, it's a spin-off of the Cars franchise, and it follows Dusty Crophopper, played by Dane Cook, who's a crop duster plane in the town of Propwatch Junction, who wants to complete the Wings Around the Globe racing challenge despite his fear of heights, and with the help of a naval aviator Skipper Riley, played by Stacy Keach. And they're not the only two stars in this movie. This thing is stacked with some notable names in there. Priyanka Chopra, Brad Garrett, Terry Hatcher, Danny Mann, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Roger Craig Smith, John Cleese, Carlos Alazraqui. I don't even know if I'm saying that name right. Sinbad is in here. They even have Val Kilmer and Anthony Edwards from Top Gun in this movie. I mean, they stacked this cast in here. Actually, he wasn't Top Gun. For some reason, I thought he wasn't, but I thought he might have been too young for that. But no, that was him in this movie. But yeah, this is a really odd thing for this particular film, and it's not made by hacks either. I mean, this is directed by Clay Hall, who's a guy that has worked on a lot of familiar things. He's done a lot of stuff for Film Roman with The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Bobby's World. He did Father of the Pride. He did Family Dog. He was an assistant animator on American Tail. So this is not made by a hack director overall, but the biggest problem with this film right from the get-go is that it does not need to exist, and it clearly is made to solely cash in on the Cars franchise's success over the years, and it just doesn't work. Yeah, the animation does look pretty good for a movie that was originally supposed to be a direct-to-video feature. The cast overall is not that bad in here. I'll give him that. I'll give Dane Cook this. This is probably the best thing Dane Cook has ever been in terms of a film outside of, since Dan in Real Life, honestly. I mean, he was great in that movie overall, and really got to, in that Mr. Brooks, where he really got to show his acting chops overall in here, but it's a movie that solely relies on cheap kids' jokes, a lackluster story, zero effort in actually trying to bring something unique or different to it. I mean, it's basically a movie that is, hey, we can take the concept of Cars and put it into the world of airplanes. Genius! Which really it's not. It's a movie that is about as pointless as you can get with it. It's a movie clearly made because of the Cars franchise's success over the years. It doesn't work as a film. It's just filler to shut your kids up for an hour and a half while the parents are doing something else entirely, while they're banging in the back bedroom, or somebody's having an affair with another person. It's that type of movie that keeps your kids quiet so you don't have to deal with the consequences afterwards. Yeah, it's just not a good movie. The sequel, on the other hand, we'll touch on that in 2014, but I'll just tell you this much. I'm kind of glad this movie was a success, because they at least took some life into it with the second. They actually took it into the second film and said, you know, we can actually do more with this universe overall and actually make a good film out of it with the next film that they'll do. But again, we got to wait until next summer for that. But I guess it'll be worth it after all. So there you go. That's Planes. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is another sequel, Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters.
only our finest heroes has the power to save our home.
Harry Johnson. Actually, it's Percy Jackson.
Whatever.
Luke, you're not the only half-blood who's hard to kill.
He's gonna destroy the whole world.
Just hang on to something.
Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters, in Real D3D and Digital 3D, rated PG.
I see we're bringing in some elements of Transformers with the way that the creatures look, and hey, Stanley Tucci comes into the year, a few months before he joins the Transformers franchise, but no, this is Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters. This is, of course, the sequel to the Lightning Thief that came out 3 years ago, and it's the second and last installment of the film series before it eventually spawned over to the Disney Plus series that's currently on the air right now. But in this movie, you have the continuing adventures of Percy Jackson, once again played by Logan Lerman, and his friends as they journey to the Epimonious Seat of Monsters to retrieve the Golden Fleece in order to save the tree barrier that protects their home. You have the return of people like Brandon T. Jackson, Alexander Daddario, and Jake Abel, while you have new people in here, Nathan Fillion and Anthony Head, as well as Stanley Tucci and Douglas Smith. And in terms of the movie itself, it's just kind of on par with the first film in general, meaning it's not really that great overall. Like, I never really got into these movies overall, so it does fit with the identity of the first film in general here. I mean, I'll give them credit for at least trying this time around to build the story up a little bit, but nothing about these movies ever really made me say, wow, I want to read these books overall. I mean, there's a good idea in here, and I think the Disney Plus show has done a pretty good job of expanding that idea with the series. I've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes, and I didn't think they were that bad overall. But other than that, though, the movies don't really do a whole lot with this universe here. And it doesn't help that it's directed by the same guy that did the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, so yeah, that's already kind of losing me right from the get-go there. But other than that, though, if you like the first movie, you'll probably like the second film. If you're not, then you're probably not going to like it so much. So, with all that said, let's go ahead. We've taken a look at some of the bigger, wider releases this weekend. Now let's get to some of the indie titles that we have this weekend. Let's take a look at our first movie, Amanda Seyfried as Linda Lovelace in Lovelace.
How does it feel to be the poster girl for the sexual revolution?
To me, it's a movie. Like any other movie, only it has so many better things in it.
Like what?
Like me.
I mean, the only thing you can really take away from this movie that's great is Amanda Seyfried as Linda Lovelace. I mean, this is a movie where she is really knocking it out of the park. I've always loved her as an actress, all the way from working Mean Girls, and the fact that she's not afraid to get naked anytime she needs to and be in these very dark, provocative movies. I mean, Chloe's one of those great examples of that, where she's literally has a lesbian sex scene with Julianne Moore. I mean, who doesn't want to see that if you're a guy? But Deep Throat, the first pornographic feature film to be a mainstream success, was an international sensation in 1972 and made it star Linda Lovelace, played by Seyfried, a media darling. Years later, the poster girl for the sexual revolution reveals a darker side to her story. This also features a cast that includes Peter Sarsgaard, Sharon Stone, Robert Patrick, Juno Temple, Chris Noth, Bobby Cannavale, Hank Azaria, a couple people who were just at the Steel City Con this past weekend. Robert Patrick and Hank Azaria, Adam Brody, Chloe Sevigny, James Franco, Debbie Mazar, Wes Bentley, Eric Roberts, who was in another film that was very similar to something like this, Star 80 back in the day, about the story of the death of who's that chick's name? Dorothy Stratton. But there's like a Hamilton in here. This is a movie where it's the typical biopic where a film essentially, the performance is great, the rest of the movie, not so much. It's a film that's literally the definition of a style of a substance movie, and a biopic clearly probably made with the attention of the family, so that the deeper, darker moments in here really are not going to shine out in general here. But to the film's credit, Amanda Seyfried really is the one highlight of the movie. I mean, she really is giving a compelling performance in here that just really knocks it out of the park. In fact, her and Peter Sarsgaard overall are pretty good in this. It's funny because there was actually a moment in here where, the character of Sarah Jessica Parker was supposed to be in this movie playing Gloria Steinem, because there was a segment that was supposed to cut from 1984 to 1980, and because they changed the time setting of that, they basically cut her scenes out in general with this, and so she's not even in this movie here, and you wouldn't even know it overall. It just felt kind of unnecessary to even have her in here, honestly, but at the same time, there's nothing really about this movie that makes it shine on anything in particular, except the fact that you have Amanda Seyfried giving this really good performance overall. That's the one thing that really makes you want to see the film, is this great performance by Seyfried. But other than that, though, there's really nothing else about this film that kind of makes it stand out or anything. It's just kind of a generic biopic movie that doesn't really give you anything new or groundbreaking in terms of the information about this person that you didn't know already. And it just didn't. The story overall really is the weak link of the movie in general. The best thing about the film is Seyfried and Sarsgaard. They're the things that really are making this film worth it in the end. But other than that, though, there's nothing really more about this film that needs to be seen overall. I mean, honestly, it's a mixed bag of a movie, but I say for a one-time watch, it's definitely worth it. But other than that, there's no reason to go check this movie out in general. Amanda Seyfried's been in so many other better movies than this, so. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, Lake Bell, writing, directing, and starring in a World. Or, I'm sorry, In a World.
In a world. In a world. World.
In a world.
Hey, make sure your phone's turned off. I think we're getting some feedback out here.
Oh. Sorry. Ready.
See, you kids out there do not remember the good old days of movie trailer announcers. You've never heard of voices like Don LaFontaine, or John Leader, or Hal Douglas, or Percy Rodriguez, or Al Chalk, all these memorable movie trailer voices that you kept hearing on every movie trailer from the 60s all the way up to the early 2010s, and it has sadly become a dying thing overall to not have a voice artist doing a trailer voice anymore. Yeah, it's hard to believe that time has come now, unfortunately. This movie's not even 12 years old, and that sadly is what a sad truth in this world today. But in this movie, an underachieving vocal coach played by Lake Bell is motivated by her father, the king of movie trailer voiceovers, to pursue her aspirations of becoming a voiceover star. Amidst pride, sexism, and family dysfunctions, he sets out to change the voice of a generation. And this is a movie where it's interesting because in the same year, her and Sarah Polley got recognition for being kind of the future of filmmakers as a whole. People were looking at these two potentially as filmmakers in the future that could eventually become amazing directors in their own rights. And Sarah Polley herself went on to become that person, as she won an Oscar later on for Women Talking, for writing the script for that. And Lake Bell writes and directs this movie, and really, it's a film that I highly recommend worth checking out in general. Not just because of the premise of it overall, which, yeah, for those of you out there that don't remember the days of the movie trailer voices, this is a great reminder of what that was like back in the day. But not only that, Lake Bell really has a knack for writing and directing a solid film like this that really gives her a chance to shine and show what everybody could do. Which shows her what she can do as an actress overall. She doesn't have to be the straightforward comedian in this. She can do a lot of dramatic roles in here, and she's got a great cast working around her. Dimitri Martin, Rob Corddry, Michaela Watkins, Ken Marino, Nick Offerman, Tig Notaro. A really solid cast overall here. A really good movie that, like I said, really dives into the dynamics of what the movie trailer voice announcer and how significant it was back then, even back around this time period. It's a really, really entertaining film. Very underrated little gem of a movie that really nobody has really talked about since then, and I really do think it's one that's definitely worth checking out overall. Seek this one out if you haven't seen it. In a World is definitely worth it. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is I Give It a Year.
Fornication. I'll read that again. For an occasion like this, Nat's got it all. She's brilliantly clever, apparently really delivers in the bedroom. Like mother, like daughter, eh? So Nat and Josh.
From the same director that made the best Home Alone sequel since Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. At least in this guy's opinion. I'm sorry, I don't like Home Alone 3 or 4 or 5, but I kind of like Home Sweet Home Alone. And this is the same director that made that movie. But then again, he also did Dirty Grandpa, so mixed bag of a director overall. But after a 7-month-long passion-filled courtship, 30-somethings Londoners, Natasha Redford and Josh Mosh get married despite there being mismatch in personality and temperament, something that their closest friends and family members can see, some who predict the marriage won't last a year. even if Nat and Josh themselves don't see it. Nat, a marketing computer manager, is more professional and controlled. Josh, a novelist with a current case of writer's block, is more carefree and childlike. 9 months into the marriage, Nat and Josh have their first session with arguably the most distracted marriage counselor in the city, their session which may be the deciding factor in whether they continue to be husband and wife to each other. Their issues over the preceding 9 months are told in flashbacks and include little idiosyncrasies which annoy the other, and tensions with each in-laws, and beyond the general differences in their personalities. But what may be the biggest threat to a happily ever after for them as a couple may be temptation with others to who, at least on paper, each is more well-suited. For Nat, that temptation is client Guy Harrop, an American manufacturer who, unknown to Nat, hired his firm solely in his personal attraction to her. For Josh, the temptation is his old girlfriend, Chloe, an aid worker who only recently re-entered his life after a 4-year stint away working in Africa. The two of them are in therapy, never having really broken up in the first place. And essentially, this is basically the 5-year engagement, except actually done well. Well, well's kind of an understatement. It's done better, if you will, than the 5-year engagement did. Because the 5-year engagement was a movie that started off strongly, but then went down this predictable road of just lackluster, cheesy jokes that weren't funny, and you feel like we're above by the people that made Forgetting Sarah Marshall, who made that movie. This one is better, but not by that much. The cast in here, the two leads, Rose Byrne and Ralphie Spall, they work off each other very well. Anna Faris playing Chloe is pretty fun in here. Simon Baker playing Guy is pretty good. You see Stephen Merchant there, Minnie Driver, Jason Fleming, Olivia Colman. A really strong cast involved in this movie, and it's a film that kind of almost works, but not really. But like I said, it did a better job of being more ambitious to it than something like The 5-Year Engagement was, which I think is a film that's very similar to this, but done better. That film just didn't work. This one, slightly better. One I would say for a one-time watch. Maybe it's worth a recommendation, but other than that, it's definitely one I would say that it's not one you should rush out to see. Like, literally, if there's nothing else on TV and if you see it on streaming, I'd say watch it once, but other than that, you're never going to want to watch it again after the first time around, so that's my thoughts on I Give It a Year. So there you go, that's going to wrap up this long episode of Time About the Movies. That was actually the most amount of movies we've had in probably 3 or 4 months. I mean, it's been a long time, but next week we'll have about as many movies overall. We have Lee Daniels' new film, The Butler. Oh, I'm sorry, Lee Daniels, The Butler. There was a controversy with the title. So when you see the marketing for it and you see the DVD for it, it's literally called Lee Daniels, The Butler. But we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at Kick-Ass 2, not directed by Matthew Vaughn, and certainly they've got a better director that can fill that void for him. They got the director of Cry Wolf. So yeah, that's not a good sign. But we have Steve Jobs. He died a couple years ago, and Open Road Films said we're gonna beat David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin to it first with our Steve Jobs movie with Ashton Kutcher in it called Jobs. We have Paranoia, which features a Hemsworth, not Chris, but Liam Hemsworth in the lead, and also I think Amber Heard's in this movie, and also Harrison Ford and Gary Oldman, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Harrison Ford? Yeah, it's Harrison Ford. Like, that's how much nobody remembers this movie, because I couldn't even remember if Harrison Ford was even in this, but yeah, he was. But we also have Austin Land with Keira Knightley, I believe, Kerry Russell, not Keira Knightley, about a woman who's obsessed with Jane Austen's work. And then, do we have anything else? I don't think so. I keep thinking we're going to get to one movie in August, but that's not coming out until December, and I won't tell you what that is until we get to it. But so, not as many films, but stay 5 films is still a lot to look at, so we'll take a look at those films next time on the show. That'll be coming up tomorrow. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist. Don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.